Welcome to Life and Liberty Radio with David Householder. I'm Joshua Zay, and together, you and I are taking another step toward freedom, both spiritual and political. So get comfortable, breathe in, and ignite your imagination. Envision a society that is spiritually deep and truly free. It's easy if you try.
So, do you hate your job? Now, especially if you're approaching midlife or later, if you can think of your life, your vocational life, as a football game with the first half, a halftime, and a second half, which half are you in? And which half is the most important? Of course, it's the second half, and the last 2 minutes is essential. I've seen so many people play a great first half and a terrible second half and end up losing the vocational game. And yes, it is possible to fail vocationally. I see it all the time. People say, oh, I've got no regrets if I die. Well, you do. Vocation is so very important. It's a big part of who we are. And whether or not you're earning money for it, that doesn't matter. You can be a volunteer. You can be a stay-at-home mom. You can be a CEO. Your vocation has nothing to do with income. Your vocation has to do with, are you in the right seat on the bus? And are you happy with where the bus is going and where you're sitting? Maybe you want to be the driver. Maybe you want to sit in the back. Maybe the front. You'll know it. It's like that toy train set that we used to have growing up back in the 60s. And if one of the wheels was off, the thing would drag. But if all the wheels were lined up, it would just roll along. And you can just tell how much drag there is on your life. And if there's drag there and you're moving into the second half, you need to pay attention to that. You really do. Because a lot of us do hate our jobs. I don't. I've never been able to stay in a job that I hate. I love my pastoring at my church. I love the creation of the Blackberry course for churches all over the country. And I love all the things I do, my life coaching, my surf coaching, all the stuff. I really enjoy it. My writing, my blogging, my podcasting, it's all good stuff. And if it isn't, I'm going to change it because life goes so fast. I was visiting my mother-in-law here in Holland. I'm broadcasting actually from Holland. I was visiting her in the nursing home the last couple of days, and she said, life goes so fast. Het gaat zo vlug. It goes so quickly. In Dutch. Yeah, it does. It's life feels like it lasts a few weeks, not months or years. And you just don't have a lot of time to waste when you're in the game. And, wouldn't it be better to lose trying than to just put a halfway effort and lose not trying? I mean, I'd rather go out in a flame ball than just die slowly in a job I don't like. So my life's at halftime right now. And it's kind of cool. My first half was pretty good, but I'm sitting at halftime thinking, I want to live a great second half. I want to finish well. And how do I do that? Well, at halftime, when I was growing up in sports, we had a chalk talk in the locker room, and the coach would kind of retool for what had happened. And so many of my friends at halftime just say, I'm just going to lock it in and just to mail it in and do my thing. That's pathetic. It really is. We need to engage every single day. And I don't mean to get exhausted. I don't mean to wear yourself out, but show up. Show up for every single day. The second half is so very, very important. We want to finish well. And the truth is we make a lot of bad decisions when we call our plays, when we make decisions in life. Here's the biggest decision the biggest problem I see in decisions, and that has to do with security. People tend to choose security over opportunity. And that's a big mistake, especially in the second half. How do I want to say this? They play conservatively when they're behind. Hey, in hockey, when you're behind, you pull the goalie. You don't play conservatively. Life is to be won. You get out there, and as the Apostle Paul says, I run the race. I run it to win. I beat my body into submission, he says, so that I might win the prize. I stay focused. I stay disciplined. And please hear me. I'm not saying get up at 4 and work till 2 in the morning. I'm not saying that at all. There's a focus to it that is so very, very key. And here's the decision that I see just going backwards. People tend to limit the upside and open themselves up to really catastrophic downside. And if you've ever worked the stock market or gambled, and I've never gambled, I don't like gambling, but I like investing and I like taking chances in life. And when you take chances, you limit the downside and you open yourself up to upside. I mean, those are the people that win at the game in life, at the game of life. And the people who limit upside and open themselves up to downside end up losing. But so many people do it for the sake of security. Here's what I mean by that. In my life, what I try to do is open myself up to opportunities. All of the big things in life have come to me without my asking. But I'm open to it. I'm open to it. If someone walks up to me and says, I've got a great plan for your life, I'm going to listen. I may not do it, but I'm going to listen. I don't lock in my plans long term. I live day to day. I trust that the Holy Spirit can speak to me through anybody. And every single big opportunity in my life was something I wasn't looking for. And the truth is, it's probably the same for you. Striving doesn't really get us anywhere. It's being open, open towards heaven. We want open heavens. We want, Lord, what do you want to show me today? That kind of thing. And I try to limit the downside. I have a huge life insurance policy. I'm worth more dead than alive to my wife. And I try to do safe things. I don't take big risks in life with my physicality. For instance, I've got, genetically speaking, a high disposition towards lung cancer. So I'm not going to even smoke a cigar when someone has a baby. I used to. I'm not going to do it anymore because it's just not worth it with my genetics. And so it's like kryptonite to me. I stay away from it. And everybody needs to know what those big dangers are in your life. I took a genetics test, 23andme.com. And hey, people say, aren't you afraid to find out what your big risk factors are? No. I want to know what my big risk factors are so that I can limit them and I can worry about other things. Now, there's no sure thing. I could get hit by a truck, God forbid, tomorrow morning, and that'll be over with. But I can limit the big, big dangers. I can do that. And we all need to do that. We need to figure out what are the 4 or 5 things most likely to get us and limit those things. Really, seriously. And so we take care of the downside, but on the other hand, we allow failures, little failures. Losing a job is a little failure. Losing a marriage is a big failure. A major health breakdown, which could lead to death, is a big failure. We don't want failures like that. We want little failures, like losing a job, having a car stolen. Those are little failures. You want to allow for those things and cover for the big ones, the really, really big ones. Make sure that you're doing the best you can, and just know that you're doing the best you can. That's going to have to be good enough, because we don't know for sure. But you limit your exposure to big downside. And what's the biggest downside? I'll tell you what it is. I am with a lot of people who die because I pastor a church. And our church right now is a lot of young people. But I've been in churches with more old people. And I've been at a lot of bedsides when people die. And a good half, if not more, of people have a lot of regrets, which they want to share with me. And almost every time it's this: I wish I had been more open to opportunities, relational, vocational, all of those big. I wish I'd given it a shot. I didn't realize how short it was going to be. And the biggest failure, the biggest downside, is getting to the end of your life and saying, "I wish I coulda, woulda, shoulda." Like I say, I'd rather fail and just know I gave it a shot than wonder, hey, if I would have just tried that, So that's the big downside. And what a lot of people do is they limit their upside. Oh, I see this so often. If people have any kind of a secure job, they limit opportunities to anything else. Because, I don't want to mess with my pension, don't want to mess with my health care, don't want to mess with my even worse, don't want to mess with my welfare payments or my unemployment. Oh my goodness, why would you spend a year or 2 or 3 of your life worried about losing your unemployment benefits? good Lord, you cut yourself off from all kinds of opportunities. Well, you say, well, hey, if I went to work, I wouldn't make as much as my unemployment. I better stay on unemployment. Stupid. You get into that job, who knows who you're going to meet there? Who knows who's going to give you a raise? Who knows who's going to promote you? Who knows what that interaction is going to bring you? Just go do it, for goodness sake. I mean, open yourself up to upside, limit the downside. I see so many people doing the opposite. They limit the upside to keep so-called security, and they're open to huge downside, and they don't even pay attention to things like that. I mean, I see people 100, 150 pounds overweight who are worried about losing their pension. I'm thinking, hey, worry about getting healthy, There's your downside. You're going to die in a few years anyways. So pay attention to that. And I think we need to pay attention to the big things and stay away from the other stuff. We can do that. You can do that. I can do that. I know we can do that. So, you've grown perhaps in your job. Perhaps you hate your job. Perhaps it's time to leave your job. You say, oh, it's too secure. I've been in it too long. I think it's so very clear that what we need to do is we need to plan. If you hate your job, don't just leave tomorrow. Think, how can I leave this job and open myself up to major upside and keep major downside, including dying, hating what I've done, which is the big downside, which is the big F for a grade. You don't want to get that. How do I limit the downside and open myself up to every opportunity that comes by? And even those ones that might be just a little bit risky. How can I do that? I believe that's the only way forward. It's the only logical conclusion. It's the only way to make good decisions about your vocation.
So put some sunshine and water on these fresh ideas and keep taking that next step toward freedom. Join us every weekday for the latest life and liberty ideas. The views expressed on this program are purely those of the presenter, and not necessarily those of the advertisers or organizations or persons with which the presenter has a relationship. Please click on the Amazon banner at the top of the Life and Liberty page, and consider doing all your online shopping through this portal. See you tomorrow.